Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
We're back to the main board again.
Yep.
I'm copying our results, put it on the presentation board.
Yeah, I try to, but I think the size doesn't fit, so I just paste it here under the summarized board.
While you are doing that, I just have a personal question, a question just out of curiosity. How many of you have used Mirror before? Oh, that's a lot. Okay. So
we have expertises today.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, where shall we start from the group A? Do you have a volunteer to give us some sum up and share the good ideas from your group?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Raphael.
Okay, yeah, I was elected to be the one to talk to the group A. So, okay, first of all, we started summarizing the problems for our group, and we identified a little bit more overtrust issues, undertrust cases than overtrust cases, but mainly then we try to cluster them up and general concepts such as one thing that may cause overtrust is was, for instance, long distance trips and also over experience with the system with good reliability, or undertrust by too cautious of a driver, or too aggressive of a vehicle controller model, and long time or a too cumbersome interface. So we try to address mainly those topics. So to address the thing of a too cautious driver, if you've seen here, we looked for multiple controllers and choice settings, adaptation of driving control dynamics. And then we looked for different driving styles and settings that can be provided. Also, we looked to a way for the system to receive feedback from the trust of the user, or how the user is adapting to your system, so it can adapt itself as well. So for instance, we think about using physiological or probes or anything like this to assess drivers' levels of trust. But then when we see about clear model indications, which is the other problem of the cumbersome HMI design or complex HMI design. So clear model indicators, or explain better the aggressiveness of the system models or the passenger to a white box setup instead of a black box setup. We looked for different HMI designs, and we talked a lot about multi-modal interfaces, how to use sound, why do you use sound in comparison to visual HMIs or haptic. But one thing that it was a little bit interesting in the end was that we started to think about education and how long-term usage affects. And then we came with one idea which was very interesting, which was post-explanation. For instance, if you had a bad experience with an autonomous vehicle, then you could the vehicle can provide ways to say, okay, I had a failure, I messed up, why this happened. So for the next time, you be aware of this. So you don't undertrust this vehicle saying it will fail every time. They explain exactly why the causes of the failure. And then we came to another thing that we said, that onboard calibration, not only previous calibrations such as an education about AVs or an AV driving license test, but also onboard, how can we constantly adjusting the levels of trust. And then we came with some ideas that are not reported in here because we were just talking, but saying for instance, one of the group members said that for Xiaomi, I believe, there is a car that does not allow the new drivers to get all the features but they are relieving the new features as more they get used to the system. So yeah, basically those were our ideas in our brainstorm.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Raphael, for summarizing our thoughts. That's really nice. And I hope Group B will look more details at our board.
Yeah. And I'm very curious about the AV license, because you mentioned about the educational thing, and is there the relationship between the AV license and the education, onboarding education thing? So if you like educated by something, and you will have the AV license. I'm not sure if I understand it correctly.
Yes, like we first started with like a general concept, and then like brought this idea up. So education was like a bigger concept, like how can we educate like a newer driver to properly assess their trust in the system? So, and then I said like, we said like, maybe using like they have like an AV driving license, or even like, yeah, pass a test before buying an AV. Or then we said like the post explanation after like the AV does a mistake. Or like there's in here, like the simple development of this kind of technology should assess this over time. So it's a thing that will come over time sometimes. It's not necessarily a thing that can be done, it will come naturally. But there's also here like experiencing an AV before owning one. So we kind of just generated some ideas about how this education could be achieved.
Just a quick comment regarding the AV license. If you remember the talk from your state, the first speaker. So he also mentioned—
It was Professor like, Satoshi Kitazaki.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so I remember he mentioned like in the Q&A, like in Japan, not sure if that's for AV, but the license exams always happen. So I guess it can apply, can be applicable here. Like if you get the AV license, you are required to do some tests, to do some examinations, maybe every year or in a time gap to make sure. Yeah, like Jingyi added in the chat, renew your AV license every 3 years. But we are not sure if the technology will really be, always have the same level within 3 years. But yeah, that's the basic idea.
I think it could. It's very reasonable. It could give more possibilities to us to design the HMIs, because we are always, as a designer, we are always like judged or be asked if the design is understandable by any others. But if we have to do the AV license, we can ask the drivers to learn the HMI designs. Maybe in this way, because with the traffic symbols, we have no idea what does it mean. We need to learn in the Fahrschule driving school. So yeah, it can give us a lot of possibilities of the HMI design. It's my thing from just come into my mind. And now I think it's a time to like show our group's idea, and our volunteer is Yuri. And Yuri, please like share us something.
Hello, yeah, I think things got messed up a little bit, so I pasted our board again at the bottom. So if you click my icon on the
yeah,
I'm at the bottom, so there's like another version of our board. Yeah, and so we didn't have much time to tidy up our board. We just put some stickers to highlight our favorite ideas. And again, so in the Overtrust, I think the main point about Overtrust, we had, I think, 3 interesting points. The first one was, so I guess these two are kind of connected, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe the marketing and the sales and whoever promotes the vehicles to us overpromise what the car can do, and we kind of overtrust it because we get false impression of the ability before we even get into the car. So this this thing we can probably solve using some marketing regulations, yeah, introducing some laws and rules of what could be marketed and sold to the people, maybe in a way, I don't know, for example, like the cigarettes market these days, you have to warn, you have to have these warnings. So maybe that's a solution. And I guess in this case, there's no straightforward solution of like how you communicate, but yeah. And other point we highlighted was people not caring or not understanding about the maintenance. So maybe an important point could be cases in which people assume so the car can drive by itself, it can also take care by itself, so I don't need to charge it or refuel it, and then I get stuck in the middle of a highway. So maybe this is an important thing to communicate to the users. So again, this is an information, and maybe it shows the status of the car, but also it should proactively tell the user that, hey, you need to fuel me up, or like suggesting, please stop at this. We should go through the charging station. So that's an important information that might lead to an overtrust. And then going back to the undertrust. So we had ideas like problems that so people might be scared of sensors attack and spoofing, which can lead to failure. So people can be worried about that. And so this could be solved by showing the information about failure problems. And why did we connect? Sorry, this idea I was not following entirely. Maybe sound. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe I could pitch in and I could help Yuri with that. So the idea was that there could be some kind of sensor failures which happen sometimes when the sensors are in play, and that could be also a reason for because people would have this impression that sensors would always work and everything is perfect out in a robotic world or something like that. And our possible solution to that could be by also not just having the information conveyed of the context, but also some kind of indications of a level of safety or the confidence that the information conveyed has been in the right form by showing some information about the failures. Or if it's like a bad weather or something like that, we could also say that there could be a chance that what information we are communicated may not be exactly right. So that's the point from the sensor spoofing we had. From the prospect of, because we always visualize AV to be something fancy, we felt that the appearance of the vehicle, because it has a lot of sensors and it looks quite different from what it has been for all these years, that could also be a reason for undertrust, because it looks pretty fancy to us, and now we see that it's something who can walk and talk on its own, and we felt that that could also be a reason that could be for in some kind of issues which you would face. And the idea was to come up with some kind of personalized designs for that, so that we basically have a design in our mind and we say that, okay, this design has actually appeared from this, and so it exactly is the machine which you exactly think about. From the other perspective, which we ranked, was also that there was also a speculation that people could actually play with an autonomous vehicle, because it's actually in the end a robotic system. So people would just try to keep playing with it to see if it's working or not. And that is also a possibility of that actually highlights an undertrust in an autonomous vehicle. And we said that we try to connect it with some kind of rules or laws, saying that there should be always some kind of law which says that whenever a signal is conveyed using a EHMI or some kind of a visual or haptic medium, the person should respond within X or Y amount of time, so that the interaction is complete and then the AV is allowed to go. So this is also to have a traffic jam-free environment, so that people do not misuse these machines which are out in the space. The other point, which we also discussed and we felt should be ranked highly, is the fact that currently we see AV as a black box, because we have no idea of what the accuracy of the system is and how it would work in a high volume environment. And we felt that it would be, and we felt that a possible solution to that would be to show the inner workings of the logic, and possibly explain to the public, or maybe as what Group A did, we try to have some kind of education to the public so that the people actually know what an AV is and what it is capable of and what is not capable of. And that could also be a way to tackle undertrust. So I think these were a few of them, and I think Yuri could also fill me in if I have missed something, or our team members too.
I think we're good.
Okay, great. Any questions from Group A?
I have a comment, just a comment. The Group A and B also mentioned the education. I think this is a very important part. Actually, in this IV, I published a paper about the instruction for the pedestrian and AV interaction. I can share the link to you, and if you're interested in it, you can read it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. For the time now, I think now it's time for the extra 5 minutes break, as I remembered. Yes, we have 5 minutes short break, and then we will go back to the summarize of the whole brainwriting thing, and also what we'll do to how we will do to summarize our brainwriting ideas that you shared with us. Yeah, okay, we can see you later. Okay. I think it's the time to do the sum up. Sorry to bother you again. Yeah, I will just give a very brief summarize to try my best to give some summarize of these amazing ideas from you. First of all, I want to say thank you for those great ideas in this brainwriting, and I'm so appreciative about it. And from my perspective is, I think AV must be the part of our life, or it will be going to our life in the foreseeable future. And even though some of us or some of the people can't accept AV and they don't like AV, but AV will go into our life because we will communicate with it. Even though you don't have an AV car, autonomous vehicle, but when you like walk on the street or be like right on the street, you will have to communicate with the AV. So AV will, for some extent, will change our behavior in the future. And so we have to learn how to drive or how to communicate, how to have a life with AV. So I think what is inspiring me a lot is maybe we can have more fancy HMIs, both on the EHMI to the pedestrians, to the cyclists, also for the IHMI, internal HMI, for the drivers and the passengers. People have to learn it just as they learn of the traffic signs in the driving school when they drive the traditional vehicles. So because as a designer, I always think design is very helpful, but sometimes it's very could be limited by the by the realistic life. But I think if I think in that way, HMI should have more possibilities. Yeah, this is for my thought just in last 5 minutes. And the second thing, what I want to say is we would like to do a summarize with the report for this brainwriting part. and you will be highly appreciated in the acknowledgement. And before we do this proposal, before we do this report, for sure we will send you an email about what we want to do, how your ideas are included in our report. And of course, if you would like to have further cooperation with us on this topic, we are very welcome to this. And please contact with us by email. And also you can find us on the ResearchGate. Yeah, let me check. I think that's all for today's spring writing. And thanks so much for the great solutions and ideas and to share your experiences. And I'm really looking forward to if we can have the further cooperation in the future. Thanks so much.